Last month, a customer came into my shop ready to trade in his car. Said it felt worn out. Loose steering, weak AC, hesitates in parking lots. He'd already been to the dealer, got a quote on something new, $850 a month, 72 months. I put his car on the lift. 45 minutes later, I handed him a list. Total cost to make that car feel tight again? $212. He did most of it himself that weekend. That's not a one-off. I see this every single week. People ready to sign away 6 years of payments because nobody told them what actually needs fixing and what's just noise. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through the real fixes, the real costs, and the stuff shops love to oversell. 20 years in this trade, and I'm tired of watching people get played. If your car feels fine on the motorway, but in a parking lot it's a bit of a mess, hesitates when you touch the gas, idle goes up and down, maybe it even dies when you're creeping into a space, that's usually not some mysterious "the transmission is slipping" problem. I hear that one all the time. Most of the time, it's just the engine getting confused about air at low speed. The throttle body gets gunked up around the edges, and the MAF sensor, the little sensor that tells the car how much air is coming in, can start reading a bit off. Then the car makes the wrong fuel decisions right where you feel it most: idle and light throttle. The fix is dead simple. Get the proper throttle body cleaner and a proper MAF sensor cleaner. Clean the throttle body and clean the MAF carefully. Golden rule: never spray throttle body cleaner on the MAF. Wrong chemical and you can ruin the sensor. You're looking at about $15 to $35 in materials. A lot of shops will happily turn that into a $200 to $300 service. Time-wise, 10 to 15 minutes if you can reach it, maybe 30 to 45 if you need to take the intake tube off properly. And for feel per dollar, this is about as good as it gets. Ever drive your car and think, why does this feel like a shopping trolley all of a sudden? Little clunks over small bumps, more body roll in corners, the steering feels a bit loose. It wanders on the motorway. Maybe it even pulls to one side. I see that pattern all the time. Most people mix up two different issues. One is sway bar stuff, the bushings and the end links. When those wear out, you get that cheap, rattly, clunky feel and extra lean. The parts can be surprisingly cheap, sometimes 40 to 100-something bucks for both sides. The other is steering and support parts, tie rod ends and ball joints. That's when you get a dead spot in the wheel. It feels sketchy and it can chew tires fast. Shops often quote $130 to $200 per side for those. And here's the scam part. Your whole suspension is shot is often just sales. A lot of times it's one worn piece per side, not the entire front end. Quick check. Safely lifted. Look for cracked rubber and any obvious play when you grab and wiggle the wheel or the link. Oh, and if you replace steering or suspension parts, get an alignment. Non-negotiable. $65 to $100 beats buying tires. Mate of mine, Dave, brought his Civic in last month. Another place told him the whole suspension's done. It was a $28 end link. That was it. If your AC feels weak, a lot of people jump straight to "compressor's gone," or they go pay for a quick recharge. And yeah, sometimes there's a real leak, but I've lost count of how many times the system was fine, it was just struggling to breathe. First cheap choke point is the cabin air filter. When that thing's packed with dust and leaves, you don't get much air out the vents. It can smell a bit musty, and you think the AC isn't cold. Most cars take a $15 to $40 filter, and you can do it yourself in 10 minutes. Shops will happily charge you 85, $100 plus. I'd check it every 15 to 30,000 miles. Second one is up front, the AC condenser. If it's plastered with bugs and road grit, it can't dump heat properly, so the AC cools late, cools weak, and works harder than it needs to. Easy fix. Gently rinse the condenser with a normal garden hose. No pressure washer. You bend those fins and you've made it worse. And if you've been paying for recharges over and over, this is worth checking before you throw more money at it. I see this a lot lately. Someone comes in with a perfectly decent 10-year-old car and they're stressed. Not because the car is dying, but because they're thinking, maybe I should just buy new and be done with it. So here's the bit nobody at the dealership really wants to dwell on. The average new car payment is sitting around $770 a month, and a good chunk of people are paying $1,000 or more. Then you've got the value drop, roughly 20% in the first year and around half gone by year 5. That's before you've even talked about insurance and interest. And new doesn't always mean quiet life. I'm seeing more problems that are basically tech and software. J.D. Power's 2026 numbers show the highest problem rate in years, and infotainment is the biggest headache. Most of the top complaints are just phone connection nonsense. Over-the-air updates? They don't always fix it, and they can add problems. Also, plug-in hybrids are showing a lot more issues than plain petrol cars, and even VW is going back to real buttons. When the safety testers start demanding physical controls, that tells you something. So yeah, sometimes you're not buying a better car. You're subscribing to expensive electronics problems with a monthly bill. And I'm genuinely curious, where do you land on this? Ever bought a new car and thought, never again? Or are you running an older one that just keeps going? Drop it in the comments. I do read them. Me, I almost bought a new truck in 2019. I was at the dealer, pen in hand. Then I did the monthly maths and walked out. Still driving my 2011. If you're driving at night and you feel like your headlights have turned into 2 tired candles, it's often not the bulbs. It's the lens on the front. That plastic goes cloudy over time, and I've seen it cut the light output by 50 to 70%. That's not cosmetic. That's you seeing less, reacting later, and feeling more stressed every time it rains. The fix is usually dead simple. A headlight restoration kit is about $19 to $25, and the difference is immediate. I did this on my project car the other Saturday. 20 minutes in the driveway, and that evening on a back road, it honestly felt like I'd fitted new headlights. One thing matters if you want it to last. You need a UV seal or coating at the end. If you just sand and polish and walk away, that haze can come back in 30 to 60 days. With a decent sealant, you'll often get 9 to 12 months. And here's the scam-proof bit. Before you buy brighter bulbs or whole new headlight assemblies, look at the lens. If it's cloudy, fix that first. It's usually the real problem. Fix number 6 is one I see a lot on newer engines, and it catches people out. The car starts to feel a bit rough at idle. It hesitates when you first pull away, and every now and then you'll get a random misfire light. Folks come in thinking it's spark plugs, coils, or even the gearbox is acting weird. On a lot of direct injection engines, the fuel goes straight into the cylinder, not over the back of the intake valves like the older setups. So those valves don't get that natural rinse anymore. Over time, carbon builds up and airflow gets messy. And yeah, I've seen it start as early as 30 to 60,000 miles. sometimes earlier, even on cars that have been looked after. The smart first step is simple. Run a fuel additive that actually contains PEA, not just any injector cleaner off the shelf. PEA is the ingredient that tends to do real work on hardened deposits. It's usually $10 to $20, and it's a sensible maintenance move. If it's properly coked up, though, the real fix is walnut blasting. It works, but it's typically $600 to $1,200 depending on the engine. That's why prevention matters. If this kind of stuff saves you money, give the video a like and subscribe. I'm trying to keep you from paying for the same expensive guesses I see every day in the shop. Alright, so if you want the Stop Getting Played plan, here's the order I'd do it in, and roughly what it costs if you're even a little bit handy. Most people don't need a new car. They need a weekend and about $130 to $330 in sensible fixes. That's less than half of what a lot of folks are paying for one monthly new car payment. Start with the throttle body and the MAF clean. That's your instant win for how the car feels day to day. Then go underneath, sway bar bits and any loose steering parts. Do that and then book an alignment. Don't skip that part unless you like buying tires early. After that, do comfort stuff that actually matters. Cabin air filter and rinse out the AC condenser up front. Then restore the headlights, because seeing at night isn't a luxury. Last is the carbon plan. Try a proper PEA fuel cleaner as a first step, and only go bigger if the symptoms call for it. One bonus I swear by: a $30 to $50 interior reset. Clean the inside of the windscreen, degrease the steering wheel, freshen the seats and carpets. Half the "this car feels old" thing is just what your nose and hands are telling you. And here's the line in the sand. If the body is solid and the engine and gearbox aren't on their last legs, keeping it and fixing it usually beats depreciation and interest. My dad told me when I took over the shop, every car you keep is one nobody gets to sell you. The best payment is the one you don't make. Put in a weekend, not 69 months.